Hello folks, the great Scott here, and welcome once again to the virtual volunteer segment. As you can see, I've dressed a little festive today. I know today is actually May 2nd when we're recording this, but hey, I'm one of those people who just loves the holiday season all year round. And today we have a very, very special guest. He is coming to us from his home in the North Pole. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you have been bad or good. So please be good for goodness sake. Across the pond, they call him Father Christmas. Long ago, they called him St. Nicholas, but today we call him Santa Claus. Welcome, Santa. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. It's interesting wearing a Christmas sweater in 70-degree weather outside, but that's okay. We thank you for taking... Go ahead. What were you saying?
I think you look perfect.
Thank you so much. So, are you guys staying quarantined up there at the North Pole?
We are. We have a special shield around the North Pole which prevents radar from finding us, so it also helps keep us safe from outside intruders. So all of the elves up here in the toy shop and all of the rest of us, we are quite well and fine. I'm the only one who ventures out from time to time.
Yes, and actually, that's actually one thing that's worth mentioning here. A lot of people think, I know that the bulk of things that you do, Santa, as far as children's appearances and such, is during Christmas time, but not a lot of people realize that you do venture out other times of the year as well, don't you? For different appearances and parties.
I do. I venture out all the time, all year long.
As a matter of fact, weren't you somewhere today, as a matter of fact? Weren't you seeing some kids somewhere?
I stopped and I visited two groups of children, one of which was in a neighborhood, and I spoke to all of the children. They stayed on their porches, and I kind of stayed at the ends of their driveways, and we had nice conversations, and I gave them a couple of little bells to each of the children, and I stopped at one of the local children's hospitals in Connecticut earlier today, in New Haven, and they brought all the children down to the first floor where I was able to visit them through the window, and they did very similar to what we're doing with some Zoom technology, and I was able to talk and interact with them while they were inside the hospital, and I stayed outside so everybody could maintain the 6-foot rule now. We have to be safe.
Yes. People who aren't minding that are being naughty. Actually, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are saying that they don't know how long this is going to go on for. I had one lady in the grocery store today say December. I sure hope not. It's kind of hard for people to sit on Santa Claus's lap and maintain social distancing. Wouldn't you agree?
That's very true. We haven't quite crossed that bridge yet, but
hopefully we
deal
won't.
with that one. We'll deal with it when we get to it.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to deal with it. That's what I'm hoping right there. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Anyway,
that's another story.
Yes,
that's another show.
That is another show. Just out of curiosity, when you come during these months, do you park the sled at Logan Airport or whatever, and take a cab to the places you're going?
I have a deal with, when I fly into the East Coast, I have a deal at LaGuardia, and I have a vehicle that they house for me in my hangar. Due to regulations in airplanes and commercial traffic, I'm only allowed to fly unobstructed on Christmas Eve. Otherwise, gotcha. I have to file a flight plan, I have to land, and then I take the car.
Yeah. Santa can drive. Not a lot of people know that. All right, well, this is called the virtual volunteer segment, as I've said many times, and of course, all of my guests end up being a volunteer for a magic trick. Now, Santa, you are actually quite privileged today for one reason. One of the things that I chose to do, a lot of people don't know this about magicians, but we tend to buy more tricks than we actually wind up using in our act. Sometimes you buy a trick and then it just kind of doesn't gel with you. And I actually have a Christmas trick here for you today that I have actually only done once before, believe it or not. I bought this thing and I only used it for one show, and then the Christmas season passed and I just couldn't figure out a way to fit it in my act. But as a standalone trick for a volunteer, it works very well. So I thought this would be the perfect one to dust off and show to you. Now, I don't know how well you can see these at home, but you'll notice I have 3 cards here, 2 of which look the same, and the third one looks a little different. Santa, can you see what is on this card right here?
I can.
What is it?
It is an elf.
Okay.
It's an elf.
And this card right here is?
A different elf.
Yeah, well, another elf, actually. And right here, who is this handsome devil on the last card?
Oh, that looks like me.
That is, you're correct, that is you. Okay. All right, so 2 elves and Santa. Are you with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I also have this envelope which you can see has a Christmas tree on it. Okay? Here is the way this works. We take all 3 cards, like so, and we put them into the envelope with the Christmas tree. Like this. Okay? We seal it up, we send it to the North Pole, and then it comes back. I just made that up right now. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these cards out of here one at a time, okay? What is on this card, Santa?
An elf.
On both sides, correct? You can all see
A
that?
double-sided elf.
Double-sided elf. Okay, elf, take a break. We're going to put you right over there. Okay? All right, next, we have the second card here. And what is on this one?
An elf.
And on the other side?
A double-sided elf.
Double-sided elf, that's right. So both the elves are now out of the envelope. You can see that there is one card left in here. So if I took out the two elves, what should be the last card in here?
Should be the Santa card.
Should be the card with you on it. That's right. Okay. Hang on here just for a second. The interesting thing is if I pull this out, there is a card that says Merry Christmas on it. And if you look inside that envelope, is there anything in there, Santa?
No, it's empty.
It is empty. That is correct. All right. But can you take a wild guess as to what a lot of kids are usually saying at this point?
Ooh, hopefully it's Merry Christmas.
Yeah, but they're also yelling, turn it around. Because I only showed you the one side. Yeah, and so this is what I will do. Okay, there you go. And then they'll say, turn it around again. Because they think that you are on the other side of this card. And then I say, oh, you mean turn it around like this? That's right. And that's a Merry Christmas trick that I dug out of my pile of tricks just recently, and I think I might resurrect it this coming Christmas. Thank you very much, Santa. I appreciate it. So, Santa, I hope you don't mind, but there's one thing that has been kind of speculated for many years, and since I'm here and since you're here, I just want to kind of confirm it here. I heard a rumor somewhere that your emails, regular mail, basically requests that you get to make appearances during the Christmas season are actually longer than your naughty and nice list.
They are. They
Yes.
are.
And despite the fact that you can deliver presents to all kids on Christmas Eve, one thing you can't do is be in more than one place at a time. And so
That is true.
the long-standing rumor has been that when your calendar is full, that's when you turn to what parents refer to as Santa helpers, which are basically people who have dedicated their craft of acting to impersonating you. You do use impersonators when you can't make all the appearance requests you get. And I know
do. I have
this.
helpers.
Say that again?
I do. We have our helpers, and they fill in when needed.
Yes. And the reason I know this is because I am actually one of them. I have actually filled in for you on occasion. In fact, there's a story that Santa actually might not know about this. Santa, I want you to think a couple years ago, do you remember when a Macy's in Boston asked you to do a 5-day engagement from Monday to Friday out front of their store? And unfortunately, you could only commit to 4 of those days because the State House in Boston asked you to come to do an appearance at a Family for Fallen Soldiers dinner they were having. Sound familiar?
That is.
Okay.
Yes, it does. I remember that well.
Yes, well, the Wednesday was the day that you couldn't do. Take a wild guess as to who filled in for you that day.
You did.
Yes, I was the Santa helper who got that job. I was filling in for you while you were at the State House, and it was a lot of fun actually. So.
I did, and I got a very good report from all the other elves that you were spectacular.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So anyway, one thing that a lot of people don't know about, like I said earlier before, the thing is that before we did the trick is that Santa Claus will do appearances when it's not Christmas season. But here's another misconception about Santa. Sometimes when parents want you to come, like for Christmas Eve, I know your Christmas Eves are very full, but sometimes when people want you to come to do an appearance at their house a couple days before Christmas or whatever, one thing that I've actually heard people say is, I don't know the number for the North Pole. And that always makes me laugh because there is actually no number for the North Pole for you to come and visit the houses. Like a lot of entertainers out there, Santa will actually use representation for his appearances. And I know we're in the Boston area. If someone is in like the Boston, Rhode Island, and the Connecticut area, and they want to have you come to either their Christmas in July or their Christmas event, where should they look for this area?
Well, they can find me on Facebook at Santa New England or on the web at santanewengland.com, or they can call Santa's office at 475-202-6455, and Santa personally returns all those phone calls.
Yeah, kids, by the way, those numbers are not for giving Santa your Christmas list, just for the record. But anyway. All right, well, anyway, just out of curiosity, so this is May. We got May, June, July, August, September, October. We got about 7 or 8 months till December. So are the elves in like a break time right now, or do they have to build the toys like year round in order to be ready for the big night?
Well, January to the beginning of March, we give a complete break, and then in March we start retooling for the next season. So now we are gearing up. The retooling is almost done, and going into May is when the production starts for the most popular toys that will be out for the next year.
All right. Yes, and I've actually heard that Amazon is giving the elves a run for their money.
They are pesky, they are.
Yes, indeed. Well, Santa, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be one of my virtual volunteers here. And we hope that you guys stay safe up at the North Pole, and we look forward to seeing you. Do you think that you'll get many Christmas in July appearances this year, or do you think that a lot of the summer events are shot at this point?
I have 2 so far that I'm doing the week of July 4th, and one of those is actually on July 4th.
Oh, wow.
So there are some people that are reaching out, and we have to follow the guidelines and the rules. So we've made a plan for now, and if they release the social distancing requirements and regulations, then we'll adjust accordingly. But we're going to do a 6-foot appearance.
Well, that would be cool. To be honest with you, as a magician, one of the things that I realized is that some of the 6-foot rules and stuff, I can't tell you how many shows I have done where I will like drop something on the ground and a kid is brazen enough to try to run up and grab it in the middle of the show. And I'm like, wow, that's how fingers get stepped on. You got to be careful. The funny thing is with these 6-foot rules could actually be easier for performers at shows. You know what I mean? Less likely for that to happen. I'm actually, one of the reasons why I was asking you about Christmas in July is because one of the other things that I do when I will use my impersonation of you to good skill, I do a show with 2 of my friends, one of who dresses up like a leprechaun and one of who dresses up like Uncle Sam, and we do a little tribute to all of the holidays called the Holiday Mixers. And we're actually supposed to be doing a show on July 5th at a trailer park down on the Cape. But I was just watching a news report yesterday about how the Cape is canceling a lot of its summer events. So it's a matter of whether or not that gig will survive. The good news is it's a gig that you can just as easily reschedule if July 5th doesn't work out. So the gig might not be totally shot just yet. But anyway. Santa, once again, I already started saying this, but then I kind of got off on a sidetrack there. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to be a virtual volunteer here on the Great Scott. Thank you folks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much.